Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast,
your go-to destination for a unique blend of recovery and discovery.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Mark. And in this podcast, we will endeavor to create a safe and uplifting space for our guests and listeners to share their stories with sincerity and a touch of humor.
Remember, we are not a Glum Lot. The Glum Lot Podcast is more than just a source of entertainment. It's a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest moments, recovery is possible. Every story we share carries the power to inspire positive change.
So buckle up, get ready to listen, and join us in discovering the strength that lies within every individual's journey. This is the Glum Lot Podcast, where humor meets hope. All right, Brett, welcome to episode 69 of the Glum Lot Podcast. No sexual comments, please.
I couldn't help it.
I know, we are a childish group here in the Glum Lot Podcast.
On the 70, I'll tell you what that is, but for right now, we'll just go with this
70,
one.
I can't even imagine what that would be. So.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah. Well, one thing we haven't done in a while is remind our listeners to join our Facebook group.
Yeah, join our Facebook group.
The Glum Lot Podcast Facebook group on Facebook.
That's correct.
And if you or you know someone who wants to be in the podcast, or you have any suggestions, comments, or changes, please email us at theglumlotpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, that'd be great. Right? And any of you that listen on the various podcasting services, please be sure to give us a review if it gives you that option. Otherwise, subscribe so you can always get the latest and greatest episode.
Yep.
And, Facebook group is private, by the way. So if anybody's concerned about that, come on board.
Well, the reason Brett says that is because you have to apply to become a member, and we have to approve you. It's like a velvet rope. You know, we don't let just anybody in.
All right.
It's just that we've never told anybody no.
That's right. But we want to make sure they're there for a right reason.
So anyways, I heard something that I really thought was kind of cool the other day. And it wasn't an AA thing I heard, but it was something that I heard listening to one of my many self-help audible recordings or whatever when I drive around.
Self-help,
so, yeah. Well, you know, trying to keep the focus on being positive and learning new things for me. And this was somebody was talking about trying to go through change and accessing a fellowship type situation, like a group of people.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how things are socially contagious. And what that means is if you hang out with a group of people, you're going to start doing what they do. Yeah. If you hang out with them long enough. And I thought, wow, that's what AA is.
Absolutely.
That's what the fellowship is. Because I know for me, when I came in, I felt everything that was happening was very foreign.
Yeah.
You know, and then people, and I was uncomfortable with a lot of stuff they did. I was uncomfortable with the Lord's Prayer. I was uncomfortable with my name is Mark and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. I was uncomfortable with saying hi to whoever said their name. I was uncomfortable with all that shit. But once you're in a group of people and they're all doing it, then you're like, okay,
especially if it's a group of people that are kind of like you.
Yeah.
Even though we may not have wanted to admit that at first, or it's just like you said, uncomfortable. That was a huge for me, talking to other people like that.
You know what? And I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with the higher power.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they see, like for a guy, like when you come in at first, it's tough for a guy to be vulnerable a lot of times. And you don't want to talk about your feelings. You don't want to talk about a higher power.
Yeah.
And then you see these freaking burly bikers and guys who've been to jail and these freaking tough guys.
Yeah.
And they're all talking about how their higher power changed their life and how they get down on their knees every morning. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, really?
And you start to think, you know what? What I thought was being masculine and being a man is not really what that is. Yeah. What I want to do is I want to be like these guys. I want to have my shit together. I want to not drink. I want to be happy. I want to be useful. I want to be a good friend, a good father.
I wanted to be like Mark.
Yeah, me too.
But that was the truth.
Who's Mark, though?
You know who it is.
Anyway, that was my thought for the day is let yourself fall into being socially contagious and offer that contagion to others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it helps. So anyway, we have a guest today whom I have never met.
Ah.
You?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, chairs a meeting that I try to frequent. It's been rough over the last few months, but every time I have gone, I've enjoyed the meeting greatly.
Okay.
And so I am thrilled.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to this. So let's welcome our guest, Carolyn. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast, Carolyn.
Carolyn.
Thank you for having me.
Great. I'm glad you're here. And let's start with your sobriety date.
It's January 31st, 2018.
2018.
So we were over 6 years now.
Coming up on
I did math.
7, yeah.
Very nice, very nice. So we usually like to rewind to the first time you encountered drugs and or alcohol or both, and just kind of see how old you were, what the situation was, and what happened.
All the details.
Oh, boy. So first time I ever actually encountered a drink was around 8 years old. I'm the youngest of 3 children. I have 2 older brothers. They're 9 and 10 years older than I am.
Oh, boy. You were exposed at a young age, I'm sure.
So, of course, and we were all hockey players, too.
Oh, no kidding.
Okay.
So at one of the hockey get-togethers for my brother, they thought it would be funny to give an alcoholic beverage to an 8-year-old. And, of course, I thought it was just a slushy.
You guys.
Did I know? It was a frozen margarita. But,
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I enjoyed it at first,
so
but then I
sweet.
got a horrible headache. That's all I remember, and getting yelled at by my mother.
Oh, so you don't remember catching the buzz?
So
or
you
anything?
got you got the flack for it.
Yes.
Oh,
jeez.
man.
That was like my first encounter with trying
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
But actually around 12 was when I really started getting into everything.
How so?
So that was the first time I actually got drunk. I always ran with a crowd that was a couple years older than I was.
Yeah.
Especially because that point in my life I did any and everything I could to avoid the house.
Nice.
What was wrong at the house?
So around that stage in my life, my one brother was diagnosed as schizoaffective bipolar.
Oh,
so he was
okay.
going through manic episodes, and this was before he was actually diagnosed with anything. So it wasn't a comfortable place at that point in time for me. So I was being a little rebellious, I guess we could say. But yeah, that was when I started drinking, smoking cigarettes. That was the first time I tried cocaine and
Ooh, we're getting
smoking
into other
weed.
things.
How old were you the first time you tried coke?
12.
Oh, my God. That's crazy.
City kid.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Okay. Yeah, right. City dweller. So you obviously caught a buzz off of whatever you were doing, right?
Oh, at that age, yeah.
Yeah. And did you like that buzz?
I loved it.
Okay.
Why did you love it?
Just because the feeling of being free of everything, not having to worry about anything that I was
Maybe a
running
little
away
grown
from.
up. Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Wanting to be cool, mature.
Did you start to chase that?
Oh, yeah.
Plus, I know for a lot of kids, me included, just the mischievous feeling of doing something like wrong was fucking awesome.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
just sneaking
Yeah.
and getting away with something, and
Yeah.
look at us.
Something on your own, right?
Yeah.
Well, it adds to the adrenaline rush.
Yeah, it does. So, did you follow drugs and alcohol from that point on?
Yeah.
In your life?
So it wasn't really heavy in my younger years. It was a lot of experimenting, but pretty much any weekend we would steal whatever alcohol we could from our parents' house or just get a hold of whoever was older than us that could get what we needed. So yeah, it was every weekend, but I was a big athlete when I was younger, so it kept me out of a lot of trouble until it was probably around like 14, 15 was when I started getting heavier, or I would say more frequent drinking, smoking weed almost on a daily basis at that point, smoking cigarettes regularly, which is why my parents took me out of public school, and they thought sending me to a Catholic
Oh, did
school
they?
was gonna. Oh,
Much
yes.
better.
Right. So instead
Yeah.
of being out in the open, it was repressed.
Well, no. Little did they know, just kids with more money could get better
no,
drugs.
really?
Yeah.
Did you? Did it affect your grades at all?
Oh, yeah. Well, because I didn't care about school.
Yeah.
I didn't. It was more about the social life.
Did you resent the move over to the,
No.
or was
not
that
at
one of
the
those new
time.
starts maybe?
No, because I had known some of the kids from my neighborhood who had gone to
okay.
CBA as
Yeah.
well, so it wasn't like I was really starting over new. But it was interesting, I will say the least.
Yeah. So you go to this private school. Obviously, there's kids from money, right? And it's a little bit of a different element, but still not free of drugs and alcohol. In fact, maybe more.
Yeah. And with this new environment, some of the parents even encourage the parties at their house.
Really?
All you had to do was leave your car keys at the front door.
Oh, so they were the cool parents.
Yes.
And we're going to his house. His parents are cool.
Yep.
Yeah. They want to be just like us.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
So this becomes part of your culture, part of your life. These are your people.
Yes.
And so as your grades suffer, is that problematic in your life, or are you getting by?
I'm getting by. Like, I'm still passing everything, but I'm getting into more and more trouble with school just because of...
Did that affect your sports?
No.
Really?
No, never impacted, because at that point in time I was playing on the CBA guys ice hockey team. So didn't impact that. My grades were okay, but I was getting in trouble at home. I was getting in trouble at school. Our group, I got invited to the senior ball as a freshman, and our group got in trouble because we ate hash brownies on the way there. And two of the people from our limo, one was puking their brains out in the bathroom, and the other one passed out face first in front of the head brother.
So you guys were trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Carolyn's trouble.
Here comes the 9th grader.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, jeez.
Did you make it to graduation?
So my parents took me out of that school, and I then went to a boarding school in Lake Placid, which was actually a specialized hockey and skiing school.
Okay, yeah. So they sent you to a hockey boarding school, kind of, up in, and for those of you out there who don't know what Lake Placid, it was home of the 1980 Winter Olympics, the Miracle on Ice for the United States hockey team. Yeah, and it's a really cool place. And if you're a hockey player, it's awesome.
Yes.
So you go up there. Do you encounter the same stuff?
No.
Really?
Well, it was still like, of course, the kids coming from home, you try and smuggle back whatever you can to school. But it was so strict. Everything revolved around hockey. School came second.
Really regimented.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Like from the morning you woke up. It was incredible by far.
Was it fun for you?
It was.
I was just going to say,
So you loved hockey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you said it was incredible, so you must have.
So you were able to put the buzz in the back, on the back burner, and just really get into the fun of the sport.
When I was there. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Did you go home on weekends or no?
No. So you couldn't go home on weekends. You'd have like a month here and there to go home, and then summer break. So anytime I went home, it was just debauchery.
Was this also kind of a college prep type thing?
Yes.
Okay. So did you graduate from that?
I did.
And so did you get offers from college to go play hockey or anything like that?
I did. So I did go and play in college. I quit after my freshman year because that's when everything really started to kick in. So
you go to college and you play on this women's hockey team, right? And you're pretty good, obviously. And you get scholarship money?
No, I ended up going to a state school.
Okay.
Purposely chose that so that I wouldn't have student loans after. So, yeah.
So you go there and you get a dorm, and you're used to living away from home, no biggie.
Yep.
But you're also used to having more of a structured environment, and now you don't.
Correct.
And all these other kids that are there at the school, they don't have a structured environment. They never have. So drugs, alcohol, freely flowing, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay.
You're kind of a badass, I'm thinking.
Look at you.
All right.
Women's hockey team.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
fucking party, bitches. Is that kind of the way it was?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. So does the drinking ramp up?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Smoking dope?
Yeah. Well, not as much of the weed. At that point in time, it was heavily alcohol, and that was just because, especially the upperclassmen on our team, that's all we did on the weekends was go over to their house.
It's nice to have those guys.
Oh, yeah.
When I started college, I was put in a transfer dorm, so I always had the older guys. I quit after a year. So anyway.
So you are in school, and you're playing on the hockey team, and what about classes?
I was going to classes. I had to maintain my grades in order to stay on the team.
What did they make you have, a B average or a C average? Or
I think as long as you were above a 2.0.
Okay, yeah. So as long as you're pretty much passing,
Yeah.
C senior. So you don't make it. You don't make it through the year though.
So I graduated. I did like all 4 years, but
you did?
Yeah,
okay.
no, I only
all right,
did hockey my first year.
So after the first year, you're like, you know what? It's taking up a lot of my time. I'm not really getting anything out of it.
Was way more important.
It was. I also had something happen to me at the end of our freshman year. I was drugged and raped, and
shit!
Yeah,
on campus.
Yeah. Never reported it. Yeah. I had a lot of shame and guilt that carried with that. But ultimately, that was like, all right, no.
Yeah. So that tripped you up.
Oh yeah.
And then you're like, I'm not.
Yeah, no, and that from that point on, that's where everything really spiraled for me.
But so you stayed in school though.
I did.
Wow.
And your grades remained okay?
Funny enough, every year that my addiction got worse, my grades got better.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
I always thought I was smarter.
Yeah, I felt like I was doing better.
Yeah, and it just turned out to be the case for her.
The powers of Adderall, though.
Oh, here we go again.
We've heard this. Another. See, I was never exposed to it. I'm kind of old, so it was never really a thing. But, I mean, in college, I guess it's crazy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Were you snorting it? Or just taking the pills?
Mostly just taking the pills.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd snort it, but
I can't imagine. I take it for a reason, but I can't imagine throwing that up my nose. I mean, I just can't.
People do.
I mean, is it quick?
Yeah.
And blow your mind?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So,
anyway, that's nuts.
This is the study drug, they call it, right?
Well, yeah, that's literally how I passed everything.
Right.
Was because I'd get up at 4 a.m.
Get amped up.
Pop an Adderall.
Performance enhancing.
When it starts to fade off, that's when you smoke a bowl and it makes it kick back in. And
shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know
you
that.
learn different things
either.
in college.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
See,
it just works totally opposite for me.
You got your pharmacology working for you.
Yeah.
So you graduate.
I did.
You have a degree. Then what happened? Oh, so let me just backtrack for a second. So during this 4 years, you see the progression of the disease, now that you look back?
Oh, yeah. And I knew what was happening, too. So over that course of those next couple years, like, I'm getting grams here and there and doing lines in between classes just to force myself to go. By the time my junior year came around, I could not sleep at night unless I drank enough. And then I got to a point where I'm relying on alcohol and over-the-counter sleeping pills just to sleep at night.
And coming down from the Adderall, for goodness sake.
And I didn't, nothing anywhere.
And no one knows this?
Except for one of the girls that I was roommates with a number of years in college. I did tell her, I'm like, I don't know what to do. My drinking has gotten to the point.
Yeah, so did you notice as you're progressing, people were maturing and moving on, or did you have the same group all the way through?
Oh, I had the same group.
Oh, okay.
So, and a lot of that group was heavy drinkers, heavy partiers. It's just, I always surrounded myself with those people.
Yeah.
Did you feel at the time that... although you mentioned to a roommate that it's the shit's out of hand, did you also kind of feel like, well, this is what college is. This is the college experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So it wasn't. And plus, the people you're around are doing the same thing. It doesn't seem that abnormal.
No,
right?
Everybody else is getting up at 9 a.m, popping a beer before school.
Do you get in any trouble?
No, I almost got a DWI. I totaled my car after a heavy night of drinking and thinking I could drive from Cortland to Syracuse, so people that aren't local, it's about a 30-minute drive on a highway, and it was also middle of a snowstorm.
And it's kind of curvy and mountainous.
Yeah.
So.
Totaled my car and cried my way out of a DWI.
Honey.
I know.
I'm just a poor college kid. So you graduate from college. Where do you go from there?
From there, I literally graduated on a Sunday and started working full-time for the family business on a Monday. So a couple weeks before my college graduation, my father had a stroke.
Jesus.
So he's still around.
Yeah, but that's traumatic.
Yeah, and I was always daddy's little girl.
I was going to say, were you close to parents?
My dad.
Okay.
I had a very strained relationship with my mother growing up. But yeah, so when that happened to my dad, and of course, I get the call from my oldest brother that night that my dad had a stroke, and I'm already shit-faced. I can't go and see him in the hospital. I'm like, all right, guess I'm going to go tomorrow. And that's the beginning of finals week. So, but yeah, no, that was a whole nother experience for me that just triggered my drinking even more. So after graduation, I started working for the family business full time, and I was very resentful towards that as well.
Yeah, that wasn't where you wanted to be?
No.
What was your degree in?
Communications.
Okay. So that was pretty wide open.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it was the easiest degree you could get and still party full
You want
time.
to work for the Glum Lot Podcast? We could use somebody like you.
Yeah, my degree's in broadcasting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not that different, but and I picked it because I thought it would be fun.
Yeah.
And it was, and it was easy, but so you're working for the family business and you're continue drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Does the drug use fall off? The Adderall and all that stuff? You don't really need it anymore, right?
Or did it get upgraded?
No, actually, the Adderall, like the amphetamines, was really just college because there was a lot of MDMA during that time. But aside from that, after college, it was just drinking, smoking weed daily, and over time, the cocaine use also.
Can I just rewind for just a second about the MDMA? A lot of it on campus, the party drug, the feel-good drug.
Oh, yes.
Is that something
it's
that...
all coming back.
Like how... I've never done it. It wasn't around when I was young.
Let's try it. Kidding.
No. Tell me about that drug. Like what?
All the details.
Yeah, what is the draw?
So at that point in time, it was when Molly was still actual
Who's she?
Molly. Molly is MDMA.
Okay.
Now, that's also ecstasy, right? Same thing?
Yes, but it's the purest form
Molly
of
is.
MDMA.
It really was into pharmacology.
Ecstasy is just pills that gets crushed with other things. So you never really know what you're getting.
Right.
So in my head, I always thought Molly was much safer.
Yeah.
So it's just a powder that you get. You can snort it orally. I don't know. It was just another outlet, and it made me more outgoing.
Okay. Is there a buzz associated with it?
I don't know if I describe
Euphoria?
it. It's more of a euphoric feeling opposed
and you probably
to a buzz.
rarely did it without doing anything else anyway, right?
Oh, I was constantly drinking whenever I was doing it. It allowed me to drink more.
Man,
Did it
so
have a
I can't
speedy
imagine.
effect?
Yes.
I can't imagine because I always wanted to hug people when I drank.
Yeah.
And then you add this.
I was the same way.
And it adds
I'd be like
to
that
the
crazy dog,
sensations.
if you know what I mean. That's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, I was always like, man, I love you guys. When I was drunk, people go, oh, shut the fuck up.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, some people get like mean and they want to fight.
Not me, man. Nope.
I was like, man, I love you guys.
What are you struggling with?
Yeah, I could probably figure it out right now. Okay,
God.
so,
Enough about us.
but so you're working for the family business
Yeah.
and you have a lot of responsibility?
I guess a
About
little
expectations.
bit. Yeah. Well, because I thought, again, like, so my dad, when he got out of, my dad was in the hospital actually from April until a week before Thanksgiving because he
my goodness.
He was in an induced coma for a couple
holy
months.
shit.
Wow.
So once he actually came home, my mom had there's an apartment in the warehouse where their business was, and she had fixed that up to make it ADA compliant. And they moved in. So here I am, 21, with an addiction already, getting their house and getting roommates to live in there with me. And it became... Like,
Did you remodel?
that's one way you could put it.
Became like a big sorority house?
Yeah. Well, it was just, all we did was just drink and smoke and whatever we could get our hands on.
Did you see your disease progressing through that period if you look back now?
100%. Because at that same time, I also started bartending.
Okay.
I was like,
that's the natural choice we've heard a lot of.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
It is a good fit.
Why not get a job where you can get free alcohol?
I know.
Too?
And did you drink while you were working?
Absolutely.
Oh, me too.
And be popular,
Fucking
right?
fantastic. When I got that job, I was like, how is this possible? Mm-hmm. This is fucking amazing.
I have arrived.
Yes, it was lovely. And so you're bartending, so you're probably driving drunk every night.
Oh, yeah.
Away from the bar, right? And
Yeah.
you're drinking on a daily basis.
That started in college.
Oh, okay.
In my junior year was when I started drinking on a daily basis. It wasn't until a year or two out of college where I actually started to experience the shakes. So
Did you drink to blackout?
Oh, yeah, because it was the only way I could fall asleep.
Yeah. That was my, sleeping pill, too. I remember when I first came into AA, the first probably 3 to 4 months in, I could not fall asleep. And so I used to lay there and read the big book, believe it or not. And my sponsor would say, nobody ever died from lack of sleep. When you're tired enough, you will sleep.
Yeah.
You'll have to find other times. Just if you come home from work and you're get some sleep done, it'll even itself out. And it did. But it was a bitch. Just laying there staring at the ceiling, because every night I took my little tranquilizer,
Because otherwise you're going to think.
Yeah, and I didn't want to do that.
And that's no fun.
So, yeah, I used to read the stories in the back of the big book. I read them over and over again.
It was Joe and Charlie tapes for me.
Yeah, same.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
but we aren't really there yet.
Yeah. So you're working at the family business. You're living in a house with a bunch of people, and you're just partying's off the hook. Does something happen?
No.
Just years go by?
Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's just my drinking continues to increase. So, 5 o'clock rolls around where I get done working for the family business and I'm off to bartending and I have to stop at the liquor store to pick up a pint of vodka.
To prep.
Just so I could have something before going in there. I drink as soon as I start my shift.
Yeah.
Just so my shaking isn't apparent to anybody. And then that just...
I remember going into work as a bartender because I used to work I'd start at maybe 4 o'clock. And if I didn't wake up till noon, when I got in there, I'd have anxiety, wicked anxiety, and shake, and then I'd have that first drink, and I'd almost choke it down like it was medication. But as soon as I got halfway through and that warmth spread and my nerve endings let go, I was right back to it.
Probably, were you at that point where you almost didn't want to take that drink, but you knew you had to?
No, I would say I was at that point where I had to take that drink, and I knew it was going to be uncomfortable going down, but I felt that it was okay.
Yeah. Okay.
That, of course, this is what I'm doing. I mean,
yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I hadn't gotten to the point where I was like, holy shit, this is a problem.
I have to do this to live.
Yeah, no, I still wasn't finding that unmanageable. I thought I was still manageable, unfortunately. It took me some more, I had to beat the shit out of myself more.
Oh, yeah.
So speaking of beating the shit out of yourself more.
What happens?
No, it literally continued that way. The only thing that changed at that point in time, a couple years into it, was, my parents ended up moving back into the house.
What a bummer.
I know. But I got the apartment in the warehouse.
Oh, my God.
So I'm the only person.
More room for more people.
Exactly. And then I picked up another bartending job too. So I'm working full time. I have 2 bartending gigs.
Well, with us alcoholics, one's never enough.
Nope. Sunday is my only day off from everything. So what do I do on Sundays? I hang out at the bar that I work at because I open at noon. But yeah, it's just
football Sunday.
Yeah. Whatever Sunday.
Baseball Sunday, cricket Sunday.
The funniest part of this all makes sense to us.
It really does. It really does. It's the Sabbath. I must go to the bar.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
So is there an event or something that happens that rattles your cage at this?
No, I used to, and at this point, as my drinking continued to increase, and I had to start drinking earlier and earlier throughout the day, I used to pray that I would get a DWI, thinking that would be my aha moment. That would
so
allow
you
me
knew
to
in
stop.
your gut
Oh, yeah.
that this path was dark.
Oh, yeah.
And you were feeling it.
Yep.
Did you ever think to reach out for help?
No.
You figure, I'm just going to ride this thing and...
she was hoping that something would interrupt it.
Exactly. And, the only thing that really happened that could have been that moment for me was, I was drinking 24/7 at this point. This was probably 2 years before I got sober. And I can't even tell you how many times I tried to detox on my own at home.
Of course. Yeah.
And one of the times going through it, I was the only one home. I had a seizure. Shit. And when I woke up, the first thing I did was grab my alcohol because I knew that's what caused it. And I just went back to it and I was like, okay, guess I can't stop drinking.
This is my life.
Shit. Now
and that should have been a moment for me.
But that internal dialogue.
Yep.
Constantly, right?
Oh, yeah.
So obviously something did happen.
Yeah. Basically just hating myself, honestly. It just got to a point where I could not stand the person that I had become. You know, I couldn't leave my apartment without getting up early enough to make sure I had enough to drink so that nobody would see me shaking. So literally any time I was behind the wheel in my car, I was intoxicated. And I hated my life. And the only ways out I could see at that point in time were dying or being in jail. And, you know, whether that
and
be...
both weren't bad.
No, because
right?
at that point, I just wanted it to end.
Right. You're in the hell of drinking and the hell of not drinking.
That
you can't not drink because
and you're two people because you know what's going on, but you don't want anybody else to see it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Has anybody else mentioned anything to you during this whole period? Like, Jesus, what are you doing to yourself?
No, even so, my mom never had an idea of how bad it had gotten.
You're just really good at hiding it?
Or she was too busy with her life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've seen that, huh?
Oh, yeah. No, there was no hiding it whatsoever. That's mine.
So what happened?
So I did have a moment where, you know, I wanted to get rid of the withdrawals. So I had my mom bring me to a local rehab, and, you know, never been to rehab before, I thought once you step through those doors, you're in there for 30 days. Well, I got through, 3 or 4 days of detox. Yeah. And they're like, so, you want to stay for inpatient? I was like, I have a choice. They're like, yeah. I was like, nah. Like, I'm not
you
shaking.
Felt good at that point?
I'm not nauseous.
What was your detox like?
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Was it chemically dealt with?
Yeah, it took like 20 hours for them to give me an Ativan, and I was already 10 hours without a drink by the time I got there.
You're losing your mind?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was shaking so badly.
Isn't that crazy?
They had the hardest time drawing my blood because my arm couldn't stay still because of how badly I was shaking by the time I had gotten there. And I was the only female in the detox ward that was there for alcohol. Everyone else that was in there was for opiates, and they were freaking out with just how I was.
Oh, no shit. They were seeing you and go, oh my God, this girl's going to die?
They were running up to the nurse's station.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, alcohol's the one that can kill you.
That and benzos.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bad shit. So you sign out.
It wasn't bad enough, right? You were cured.
Yeah, went home. I'm living at my parents' house with my parents there now.
Did you now when you left detox, were you like, all right, if I don't drink, I'll be okay?
No, I wasn't at that point yet. It was I wanted to go back to drinking like a normal person.
Oh, you wanted to control it.
Exactly. I didn't want the withdrawal symptoms.
And now that it's out, I'll be able to control it.
Exactly.
Right. I don't want to quit drinking. I just want to feel better.
Right. Yeah. So it lasted 15 days. And then a neighbor had, at that point, it was a New Year's party. And I was good until I poured myself a glass of wine, and my mom was there, and she was like, should you really be doing that? I'm like, Nance, I'm good.
Just one glass of wine, honey.
I'm good.
Keep your panties on. Just one glass of wine.
And that
Fast
led to...
forward 2 hours, you're like...
It's for the antioxidants.
Yeah, no. One glass of wine leads to half a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
And then that very next morning, I got up and I was at the liquor store and I was drinking even harder than I was before.
This disease is so fucking predictable, isn't it?
Right.
Like when you're away from it.
It truly is.
And you hear somebody's story, you see it happening, you're like, yeah, well, of course that happened.
Yeah.
This is the way it works.
There aren't many
These
that
are the
predictable.
mechanism.
Yeah.
These are the mechanisms of this disease. You do pick up right where you left off.
And it's
worse.
easy to,
worse.
And it's easy to throw the switch.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, yeah. So you go right back.
Oh, yeah. And throughout that period, it was just I'm drinking uncontrollably. The only reason why I had a job and a place to live was because I'm working for my family, and my family is also my landlord.
Yeah.
My mom was the one who brought me to my first AA meeting when I was 25.
How did that happen?
Because it was after I went to detox. So now she knows there's a problem.
She knows there's some resources, too.
And she is now paying attention a little bit more. And she's like, all right, you got to do something. Let's find a meeting. So she tries bringing me to, we tried a bunch of different streets on the west side of Syracuse.
Yeah. Did you know anything about AA?
No. All I knew was what was depicted on TV and in movies.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
So I'm like, no, I'm not one
That's
of those.
not me?
No.
Did she convince you to try
Powder Milk.
She found a meeting out at that time it was in Liverpool. It's in Clay now. But it was the commuters meeting, and she brings me in, and I look, and there's probably 9 guys in the room. I'm 25.
Yeah.
The closest one in age to me was probably 55 at the time, and I just sat down and started bawling my eyes out. Like, I don't belong here. Just get me out of here. Yeah. And they sat, and they told me their stories, and the one message that I took away from that meeting was this gentleman, Jack, actually looked at me and said, he goes, we're going to make you hate your drinking.
Oh.
And I walked out of there and I was like, oh, yeah, asshole? We'll see about that. And I took it as a challenge.
Yeah. So you kept drinking?
Oh, yeah.
Did you go to any more meetings? Did you want to go to any more meetings?
No, because I would have had to realize even more what was going on. And I was just in complete denial.
Did that stick with you a little bit? Knowing what was going on? Did they talk about that, and is that sticking with you a little?
A little. Like, there was the little voice in my head, but it was not bringing me back until, no, it was, I was living in my parents' basement before my second go at rehab, and I had already made the decision because I just looked at my life. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm living in my parents' basement. I have no friends. I have no social life. I'm working for my family. I'm just sitting here drinking myself to death. Like, I'll give rehab one more go.
So at this point, did you decide to go to inpatient rehab?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I had called up another local facility, and they told me, they're like, okay, we can get you in at 8 a.m. tomorrow. And I was like, great. Went to my mom. I said, hey, Mom, I'm going to need a ride to rehab tomorrow. And she looked at me and she goes, why? The last one didn't work.
Right.
I was like,
yeah.
That was a detox, Mom.
I'm like, okay, but can you still give me a ride?
Right.
Like, I'm going to give this another go.
Yeah, because I know I would have probably said, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but no, I was so broken
Isn't
at that point.
Funny? It's like, I'll tell you what happened to me with my first meeting. It was kind of the same type of thing where something was put in front of me that says, you really don't have to do this. And this was that. It was a beautiful day. It was in July. And I called up the service center, and they told me where there was a meeting in Liverpool, and I wrote the address down. And this is back before cell phones and map and Quest and all that shit. So I drive to this church, and there's no cars in the parking lot. And I know I'm there at the right time, so I go up and I try the door, and it's locked. And I knock on the door, and this janitor comes to the door. And he goes, can I help you? I go, yeah, I'm looking for the meeting. And he goes, what meeting? And I was like ashamed to say Alcoholics Anonymous.
Right.
So I said, the meetings they have for, the people that kind of really don't want to drink so much. And he goes, oh, the AA meeting?
Yeah, right.
He goes, that's at the church next door,
Yeah.
which was a completely different church.
Yeah.
And I got back in my car, and it was a beautiful day, and it was probably 6:30 or 7, and I thought, maybe I'm just overreacting. Maybe I'll go to happy hour. I'll be fine. It's a beautiful night. But there was something inside me that made me go to that meeting, So it was almost like my higher power is going to give me an out, but saying, you got to make the decision. And same thing with you. Your mom was like, really? I mean, you're like, no, I want to go.
Yeah. No, I had an My bottom was 100% internal.
Good. Yeah.
There was nothing external that happened.
Yeah.
So you go to this rehab. What happens?
I absorbed everything they had to say in there. They really pushed going to meetings, getting a sponsor, doing the 90 and 90. I voluntarily, they were like, we recommend you do outpatient after. I'm like, okay, sign me up.
So you were in.
Oh, yeah.
Surrendered.
Did
You
you-
were willing.
Did you, when they, because they have meetings in there and they have groups and everything and, 24/7.
And probably a little bit more your age group?
The people in rehab,
Yeah. I mean,
Are
Some.
you
Yeah.
recognizing your disease at this point? When they talk about stuff, you go, that's me. I did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the mental obsession was what I wasn't able to understand prior.
Okay.
Because that involves ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I understood the physical nature of it because I'm like,
That's
okay.
what you feel.
Exactly. But it was that the cycle of insanity and the mental obsession was something I was never able to understand until it was thrown in my face and I was forced
You
to
couldn't fight it
recognize
anymore.
it. Yeah.
So you do a 28-day stint
Yep.
and you get out, you have a plan.
Went back to living in mom and dad's basement.
What did your parents say about your rehab experience? Were they supportive and go, yeah, it's probably a good thing you went?
Or were they like,
I mean, it was never really a conversation after.
Carolyn's just doing
they were
Carolyn.
probably too afraid to. Yeah.
So you get out, you immediately go start going to meetings?
I did. The day I got discharged on a Friday, I found a women's meeting to go to that Friday night.
Nice.
I did. I ended up doing like 154 meetings in my first 90 days.
Did you get a sponsor right away?
Within the first month, I did.
Okay, start working the stops?
Oh, yeah. I was averaging a step a month in the beginning.
You reading the big book?
Yep, we were going through the big book, 12 and
that.
12. I'm doing Joe and Charlie on a daily basis. Oh yeah, I was fully committed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so anybody that's wondering what Joe and Charlie is, it's a series of audio tapes is what it used to be, but it was just two guys that really wanted to help make the big book relatable to our real life experiences that we go through and really kind of make it clear for us through the human experience part of it. And it is fantastic.
And it's free, and it's online. Brett, tell them where they can find the recordings.
Well, you can find it on Everything AA, the app that...
That's an app called Everything AA. It's free to download.
Yep, and that's on there, but also you'll find them on YouTube. They're everywhere. But
Joe and Charlie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Two old dudes that are hilarious, too, and that helps.
It's good entertainment.
That helps.
As well as very informative.
Yep.
So
for sure.
And they speak from experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through your first year in sobriety. You make it through a whole year.
Oh yeah.
No, you never went back out.
No.
That's fantastic. I was not so lucky, but...
Nice.
Thank you.
Me too.
And you're starting to see a change in you're noticing a change in your happiness level, and do you feel that cloud starting to clear? The
Yeah.
cloudiness
Start showing
of,
up.
It took about a year. I mean, don't get me wrong. That first year of sobriety, it was
rough.
a lot of ups and downs.
Sure.
And I don't know what it was. Around 8 months, it was like I just got kicked in the head.
That was my 9 months.
It was.
Yep.
I was on this pink cloud, and then I don't know. I
Life
just
got
started.
leafy.
It was because you're experiencing life.
Yeah.
And you really didn't
and a
know
lot
how
of
to
it
deal
is
with it.
too is like, is this it? Mm-hmm. Is this it? Am I going to be happier? How come I'm not happier?
And the attention from the rooms drops a little bit because you're starting to level off, right? So you don't have as much about us, and
and you know what?
yeah.
And that's when things really start.
Yeah.
And
that's why around that year is dangerous for people.
It is,
because
yeah.
all of a sudden the excitement of being this, right? And all of a sudden it slows down a little bit. So
and your work, you got to dig deeper in your work on yourself at
Yep.
that point too. All these character defects. When you come into 4 and 5, there's glaring character defects.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also other ones that maybe you're not sure you want to give up yet, or you give them up, they keep
Well, they
coming
protected
back.
us.
You need more work, and it gets tough.
Yeah.
So it can be more challenging, and it doesn't the success doesn't come as easy as it does at first.
Yep.
No.
So, but you got to work harder for it. But it's worth it.
And our brains are healing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on there. Do you run into, at this point in your sobriety, do you run into other people from your former using life that are like, hey, we're all going out? You should come with us. That kind of stuff.
No, I mean, especially once I got to a year, all of that had already fallen off. Because they said people, places, and things.
Yeah, that was huge for me.
I was committed 100%. The last thing I wanted was to go back to the life I was living and feeling the way that I was.
It's a great teacher.
So I just, anytime somebody would get a hold of me, I would literally say, I'd go, I can't meet for a drink, but do you want to meet for coffee? And then I either wouldn't get a response or they'd be like, I'll try and get a hold of you another time.
Fuck drinks coffee.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So a different Carolyn.
Oh, yes.
Right? That's great.
Thank God.
Now you've had some years, and have you had the opportunity to work with other new people?
So it took until 6 years for me to get my first sponsee. I've had a couple women ask me, but nothing has stuck. So I have one sponsee right now, and it's been fantastic. We just finished her 6th and 7th.
Nice.
So she's going on her 8th.
Ones.
Those are the two that I got hung up on the most. Everybody worries about 4 and 5. 6 and 7.
Letting it all go. They usually gloss over it.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a good 8 months. It took 2.5 years to completely go through my steps.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
So you're seeing the rewards of working with other people. Like how they always, my sponsor used to say, when you call me, you're helping me. And I always like, that's bullshit. I'm not helping, I'm bugging you.
Yeah.
I didn't get it, but now I know I was helping them. But yeah, the rewards of helping other people is pretty huge. Are you involved in a group, home group, and all that kind of thing?
Yep. Early Birds has been my home group since day one. It was actually one of the nurses at the inpatient I went to.
Oh, really?
We got to go out and go to the roundup.
Okay.
We broke free for that day, and he happened to be there, and I saw on his name tag it said Early Bird. So I was like, what's that?
Yeah.
He goes, it's my home group. You should actually try it. I think you'd really like the
and
people.
guess what? It's pretty early.
How early?
7:30 a.m.
Yeah.
7:30 a.m. every
I go
week.
on Sundays.
Morning?
Every day of the week.
Every day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't get up early, so I go to Late Birds, or also known as the Vampires.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you have for someone who is a young woman who is doing the isolated drinking thing, and nobody's really telling her you're drinking too much, but her life is spiraling down into this alcoholic bullshit thing? You know how it was with you when you were like, I just wish I would have got you.
What would you have told
wish
yourself?
Something would have happened. At any point during that, you could have picked up the phone and asked for help, and you would have got it. But,
Oh, yeah.
But something was stopping you from doing that. Well, do you get a feeling for that?
Honestly, if I was to say, if it were me at that point in time, I think what I would have wanted to hear the most is this how you want to feel every day until you've had enough? Because you can stop at any time. You don't have to keep feeling like this.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be happy.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is you feel like you can't stop at any time.
Yeah.
You need something to stop you.
Yes.
But for me, I know I didn't really understand that I could, if I asked for help, I would get it. And I thought that was weak. And I don't know, there were so many things, and my ego was so in the way of me getting better.
I didn't think I deserved it.
Yeah,
mine
that's
was
a big
shame.
part too.
Yep. No, for sure.
All those different things.
But guess what? We don't have that anymore, do we?
know.
Yeah.
We don't give a shit.
Nah.
We're sober.
And you can be too.
Yeah. So, Carolyn, we're at the end of our time here, but we thanks so much for coming on and telling us your tale.
Thank you for having
your
me.
journey, your story, and it's inspiring to other people, I'm sure. To me, it is. I love hearing things like that.
Right on.
Until next time on the Glum Lot Podcast, I'm Mark.
I'm Brett.
I'm Carolyn.
As we wrap up another episode of the Glum Lot Podcast, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in today. Navigating the path to recovery from alcohol and other substances is a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and self-discovery. Remember, we're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're here to provide a safe space for open conversations about the complexities of recovery. Your stories, courage, and resilience inspire us and our listeners alike. If you or someone you know is on the transformative journey, know that you're not alone. Join us next time as we continue to explore the diverse facets of recovery. Until then, stay strong, stay connected, and remember that each day is a step towards a brighter, sober tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the Glum Lot community.